Hi, this is Charlie Jewett from the Renovating Retirement Podcast. And if you don't know what I do in the world of finance, you can look my name up online, any search engine, Charlie Jewett, and kind of see the podcast I have and the books that I write and the services I provide. But one of the things I do is train financial advisors throughout the country. And one of the things that comes up or situations that we see over and over again is someone has a retirement account that they don't actually need for income. You were diligent, you did the saving, maybe you saved up $1 million in a 401k or a 403b, 457. Usually it's going to be an IRA, something like that. Roth IRA is a little bit different, but if it's pre-tax money, kind of what they told us to do, postpone taxes to a later date when you're supposedly in a lower tax bracket. If you were disciplined and did that and saved up a big chunk of money, but then you have a pension or you received an inheritance from your own parents, or you did really well in life, or you have a bunch of rental properties, whatever it is, if you have something else taking care of your income needs and the need to pay bills, or that gives you the ability to pay bills, and you just have this retirement account that you don't need to turn it on for income. But when you turn 72, they're going to force you to take an income called RMDs, required minimum distributions. What do we do about that? So in the financial planning world, this is actually something that every single advisor agrees on. There aren't very many things that all of us agree on. We tend to argue about, should you pay off your mortgage? Should you not? Should you be in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, or in annuities and life insurance? No, don't do anything. Be in real estate. There's a lot of, ideas and debate that goes back and forth. The one thing there's consensus on, where everybody really agrees, is that if you have a chunk of money that you're not going to use while you're alive, so we're only talking about transferring it to loved ones when you've passed away, it should really be inside of life insurance. Whether you like life insurance or not, that's fine. Paying premiums is usually what people don't like. But when you're going to leave an estate behind, why is life insurance the answer that every advisor and at the end, customers choose it as well? Why is it the choice, 100%? Well, to leave an estate, you want to maximize the size of the estate. So the bigger, the better. And then you also want to optimize or maximize how much of it your heirs get. So we want to minimize the taxes. Well, life insurance is the tool that gets bigger. If you put $1 million into it, you probably leave $4 or $5 million behind when you pass away. That's the arrangement. That's what life insurance companies do. And it transfers completely income tax free. So your heirs get to keep all of it. The issue with IRAs today, under new tax law, I'm recording this in 2021, under the new tax laws, if you did have $1 million in that IRA, like I talked about, and you left it as an inherited IRA to your kids or your heirs, they would have to take that money out over a 10-year schedule. So if you leave $1 million, it turns into, let's say you have one heir, they have to take $100,000 a year over a 10-year period. If they're already a high income earner, that might force them to be taxed at 32 or 37%. If you've got 26 kids and $4 in an IRA, we don't have a problem. No big deal, right? It's for people that have big amounts of money in IRAs, and they're going to be leaving it behind to loved ones, and they don't necessarily want them to be forced to have extra taxable income. Or simply for people that say, you know what, let's leave 2 or 3 times as much money. There's no reason to leave it inside of an IRA. If someone in the family can qualify for life insurance, let's just put it into life insurance and maximize the estate. When we pass away, leave 2, 3, 4 times as much and leave it tax-free. The nice thing about life insurance is, I don't wish this on anybody, but if you happen to pass away soon after you set up the plan, you're transferring $1 million over into a $3 million life insurance policy, you may have only put in $100,000, maybe $20,000 a year for 5 years. And in year 5, you pass away. Well, the family actually now gets the taxable IRA, almost $1 million. They get $900,000 of that and the $3 million life insurance policy tax-free. So it's a very efficient system. And really, if you went all the way around the mountain and got back, you say, oh, if I'm not using it for income, why don't I just leave the largest chunk of money possible with the least taxes possible? And that's what life insurance does. So we're going to look at 3 options here. If it's not for income, that means it's for medical expenses or inheritance. And what I mean by that is, if your income is covered right now, your basic bills, but you go into a nursing home and you have to pay an extra $8,000 to $10,000 a month for 2 or 3 years, we might need some of this money. We kind of want this money in a place that says, if I need it while I'm alive, I'd like to be able to get it. But if I don't use it while I'm alive, let's have it get really big and transfer tax-free to the heirs. So we have three options. One is don't use life insurance at all. I'm going to show you that one, kind of annuities versus bonds. Now, why am I bringing up the word annuity? I'll show you in a moment. But annuities got a bad rap for a while because of something called annuitization, which is not really an annuity. It's a payment arrangement where if you gave $300,000 to an insurance company, it's gone. You can never have that $300,000 back. You don't even have an account. There's just an arrangement that they pay you $18,000 a year as long as you live or whatever. And if you pass away in year 2, your family's out the entire $300,000. You only got, 2 times 18,000 back. So what's that? What was that? $36,000 or something like that. You get it back. $36,000. You gave them 300. They keep it. People got kind of angry at insurance companies, and annuities got a bad rap. The real dirt when I studied annuities is they're not bad. The word actually kind of means contract. I'm going to show you. There's a lot of them. So you can't say I hate annuities and you should too, or annuities are good or bad. You have to say, well, show me the terms of the contract and I'll tell you if I like it or not. I'll show you exactly how I do that. But annuities don't lose money. So they're safe. And then they're actually making more than stocks right now. So they're also pretty awesome for earning a rate of return. So they certainly need to be in the conversation for people that are in that retirement phase of life and don't want to lose the inheritance they're trying to pass on. So we'll look at the no life insurance option, another no life insurance option, which is converting to Roth IRA. And then we'll look at the true kind of annuity to life insurance solution that maximizes the whole thing. So let me come over here and drag this around a little bit and say, first and foremost, take a look at this pie chart right here. For many, many decades, asset allocation or portfolio management for people who are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, they kind of lived their entire adult life during this part of retirement planning where the broker, the stockbroker, or the money manager really had the answers to everything. You should have a lot of your money in stocks, real estate, and cash, maybe 60% in aggressive and 40% while you're growing, while you're working. Get to retirement, we flip that around, put 60 in bonds and 40 in stocks. And that actually worked for quite a while. I'll show you. Things have changed and there are more assets out there, not just stocks and bonds. So one of the messages that you'll see if you do study me online that I bring to the world is, diversification means spreading it around and making sure you're not all in one thing so that we minimize risk and maximize returns. Well, stocks, bonds, and mutual funds are all the exact same asset class. We call it securities, or you could say in layman's terms, things that can go down, things where I might lose, might win. So let me spread it around only using things that have risk and try to minimize risk. Well, what's happened over the last 20 or 30 years with the emergence of indexed accounts, indexed annuities, indexed life insurance, indexed CDs, things like that, is we now have options that don't have any risk. There is no downside. You don't ever lose money and then try to recover. So the conversation has to change. The other thing that's dramatically changed in the world is how the market performs. So could your parents 20, 30 years ago retire and leave everything in the stock market and just try to take an income off of it? Yes, because watch this. There's a calculator. I'm looking at the compound growth rate of the stock market over time, 1970 to 1999. Boom. This is the important number, true CAGR. That means from this, during this 31-year period or 30-year period, it was as if the money compounded every single year at almost 14%. Well, if you know anything about compound rate of return, the eighth wonder of the world, that's fantastically high. Of course, our parents were okay. That's ripping high. I mean, just incredible. If any advisor said, you shouldn't do this, you should buy an annuity, or you shouldn't do this, you should buy something conservative, they would at that time be being immoral or at least ignorant. They'd be missing some information, or they know it and they're trying to steer you into something selfishly. But this was incredible. My message, what I've been teaching now for almost 17 years, or what I teach all the advisors I work with and in my books and all that, is simply we have to pay attention also to the most recent 20-year period, 21 years actually, because this goes to the end of December, and say, look at this. The market has only been compounding at 6.59. Now, when 2021 ends, we'll have more data. I had the same issue before the New Year's turned this year. But right now, this is the data, and we're due for a crash. The market's been up for an incredibly long period of time, setting new highs, new highs, new highs, new highs. So the market doesn't do what it used to, and you're now in retirement, as opposed to having tons of 30, 40 years on your hands to lose money and gain it back. You're supposed to be more conservative, they used to say. put the 60 in bonds and put 40 in stocks. Well, I just want to open your world to the other assets that are out there that are not all securities. It's not just risk, and more risk. There's all these other asset classes out there with land banking and with rental properties and with indexed annuities and cash value life insurance built the right way, not by the criminals, but built the right way by honest people, where you're making 7 to 9% tax-free without losses. I'm going to show you an annuity today that's averaged over 10 without even a possibility of losing money. You're getting stock-like returns without with the bond-like safety, actually more safety than bonds. And let's stop here for a moment, because I forgot to teach this and I want you to hear this. Bonds used to be safe and conservative. Why? Because if you put 60% of your portfolio there, you were making 4 or 5, 6%, let's say 4 or 5, and they were safer than stocks. All right, what makes bonds risky? When interest rates are low and you buy into a bond or a bond fund and rates go up, the bond is losing value. And you say, yeah, but not if you don't sell your bond. If you hold it to the end, it pays what it pays. Right, but that makes it 100% illiquid, which is the number one concern with annuities, which I'm about to show you, is people say, but wait, there's a penalty on some of the money. If I put in $1 million, I can only get 900,000 out the first year. The next year I can get 920,000. There's a little penalty that you choose whether you trigger. Whereas in bonds, if the market drops and you need your money, you pay a giant penalty. You might lose 30%. So bonds today don't have that same safety, and they're not paying 4 to 5%. They're paying very low interest rates, where with the annuities, we have 100% safety, no losses, and they're making stock-like returns. So all of the honest advisors that I'm aware of, and I certainly keep track of more advisors than most people I know, are including annuities, at least in the conversation. There's no reason to hide them from a consumer. We say, here's your options. If you go to a grocery store, they shouldn't be hiding the steak because they don't have a markup on it that they like. It's saying, no, we have steak, we have seafood, and we also have vegetarian options. And they're not presenting you with the ones that are just profitable. Well, maybe they do have that in the beer aisle, where they have shelving that's more expensive than the others, but they let you have access to all the foods and let you choose. And that's what's important. This green line, obviously the red line, is the stock market. And in retirement, especially times like now where the market is far oversold and it's been way too long and we're due for a correction, we might get a crash and then we recover. And then this was actually in 2001, 2008, where you see these two crashes in a row. This green line, these green line investments, like the annuity I'm suggesting here or teaching, is you don't go backwards. When the market goes up, you get some of it. When the market goes sideways or when the market goes down, you just hold tight and you don't lose a penny. We can teach you, whoever's presenting this video to you can teach you the mechanics of that, how the insurance company can actually do that. How are they paying you 10.56 on an annuity over the last 10 years when they're only making 6? It's very easy once you see it, but before you see it, it's kind of a puzzle in your mind. But what I'm going to show you is all indexed, where you can't go backwards anymore. Now, could you do this research on your own? I have a software that I pay for, and I just ran all the annuities, and I kind of want you to focus right here. 581 different annuity options. So if you knew how to do this research and you wanted to do it on your own, there's 580 phone calls you'd need to make, or some of these at the same company. So you'd say, can we talk about this one first? Now can we talk about this one? Now can we talk about this one? You keep a yellow pad or a spreadsheet. You're trying to, compare these. So you have 580 of these. Let's say it takes you 5 minutes per annuity to gather all the details. What are the different crediting strategies? Can I lose money or not? Are there any fees? How long are the surrender penalties? That would take you, I don't think that's the right number. I think something odd happened. 581 divided by, I know what it is. It's me. User error. It usually is. Times 5 minutes. We have 2,905 minutes. Let's divide that by an hour, 60 minutes. What do we have? We have 48 hours. So if you wanted to put a really, really long week into trying to study annuities on your own, even if you knew how to ask the questions, by the way, we don't even do this inside the industry. We just use software. But if you wanted to try to do this on your own, it would take you a 50-hour week. And the problem is every day we get announcements. Oh, from these annuities, they changed the rates. Thank God, rates improved on this one. My point is, even if you wanted to try to do it on your own, by the time you got to the 40th hour, some of the annuities you studied at the beginning of the week are going to have changed. And it really, truly is an impossible project. There's things that humans do well and there's things that computers do well. What computers do really well is compare data and numbers and sort it by the better numbers. Who's got the highest interest rates? Who has the lowest surrender penalties, right? So we use a software, and you can have access to that through us, that just makes it possible. It's not even possible to do it without the software. Now, there are agents who pick the annuities they favor, or the annuity companies that have the lowest paperwork or have the highest commissions, and they only offer them. I don't recommend that. I would recommend somebody that truly does work with all 581 of these, but doesn't try to do it on their own. They use software for what software is good at. So here's an illustration of what I believe is the top paying. I don't care what company we use. This happens to be Athene. They take turns. Who's the best? Who's not? Right now, Athene has an annuity that's been averaging almost 11 over the last 10 years. And I want to show an example. Say we had $1 million portfolio. Right here, it says $250,000. Now, would you ever want to say, I have $1 million in the stock market, but I only want to take $250,000 and protect it and optimize it and leave that to my loved ones? The other 750 they can pay taxes on? Not normally, but I just want to show you as an example. There is a limit of that million. You can probably only put in 3/4 of it to an annuity company. They're going to make you leave out about 20%, but 25%. But I want to just show you an example. If you had $250,000, say that was the entire IRA, that's fine, or the amount the annuity company would take, you put it in, you have something called RMDs. Now, for those of you that have studied this or just super intelligent, you might go, well, hold on, I may not have to pay RMDs on this, because if I have money in other IRAs, I can take it from there. You are right. I just want to show you, if you had to take RMDs from this and put in 250, here's your withdrawals. They're calculated every year based on your accumulated value. It's a very complicated formula with this going up and down, and I'll show you why it goes down in a minute. And this is the first year, second year, third year. So we're taking RMDs, taking RMDs, taking RMDs. The account's actually growing. We're actually, even though we're using an annuity and you never lose money again, and we're making a stock-like return, let's say, I don't think this is going to continue to make 10.5% for the next 20, 30 years. The last 10 years has been a very unique period, but making 7 or 8 is super realistic. We're actually compounding the problem. Yes, we're using this like it's a bond, like it's a better bond. Basically, we don't go backwards, and we are making a whole lot more than bonds pay, and we don't have the risk of the bond value going down. But we're actually growing the 250. If we look out in these later years to 400 when you're in your 90s, doesn't that mean we're leaving a larger account? We're leaving a worse tax problem. So yes, we've grown the estate, but we're leaving a worse tax problem. So what are our two solutions? So we need to couple this great growth and no losses, kind of this bond replacement or the better bond. We need to couple it with another strategy, a kind of a part 2, either Roth conversions, taking this from IRA to Roth IRA, which means when you leave it behind to loved ones, they don't have to pay taxes on it. Or what I've told you in the beginning is just take it out and put it into life insurance, where there's no taxes, just like the Roth, but it also gets bigger by 2 or 3 times. So just leaving it in, taking out RMDs, you kind of have a forced income upon you. You can spend it on your kids. You can give it to them. You can travel, but the account's still growing, growing, growing. That doesn't solve the problem. Okay. What if we say, can I take more money out each year? And what do I do with the money I take out? Matter of fact, what I'm about to teach, we could do even with the minimums. But what is a Roth conversion? A Roth conversion is something like this. You say, I'm living on $60,000 a year. So I'm looking at a tax calculator here. I'm living on $60,000 a year. I'm married, filing jointly. I have a spouse. This is just federal taxes, by the way, not state. And I have deductions, which is called your standard deduction. The first $25,100 for married, filing jointly. You don't pay taxes. So here's my taxable income. I hit the solve button and calculate it. So you're paying a total tax right here of $3,800 a year. Woohoo! Awesome tax plan. You're in the 10% tax bracket, 12% tax bracket. That's great. What is a Roth conversion? A Roth conversion is you working with your advisor, working with us, and saying, how do we get this IRA to be as much as possible inside of a Roth IRA, or at least the optimal amount, by the time you pass away? So when we leave the estate, when we transfer to loved ones, they don't have that tax problem of having to take the money out over the next 10 years. Well, how we do that is we say, how much room is left in these low brackets? I'll give you an example. I did the calculations before. We'll do them in front of you or for you on your particular situation. But I did an example here where I raised the income from $60,000 to $106,150. I don't know. I don't even know if I think round numbers are probably easier to use, right? We go like that. Well, then this number's not round. So how fun is that? So we raise it to about $106,000. Here's our standard deduction. Here's our taxable income. You'll notice over on the right-hand side, all of this is still in the 12% bracket. Now, there's nothing wrong with saying, I want to do more Roth conversions, which I'll show you in a moment, and then coming over here and bumping into the 22% tax bracket. As a matter of fact, David Walker, David McKnight, some of the top advisors that I know in the economic and tax planning and retirement planning industry say, if you can pay 22 or 24% today, go ahead and do it. Divorce the IRS, pay your taxes, get it over with, go from IRA to Roth IRA. We're probably never going to see lower tax brackets or lower tax rates than 22 or 24% since the country's in trouble, can't afford Medicare, can't afford Social Security. Where are they going to get that money? Raise taxes. So it seems like even this is a deal, but I just wanted to show an example that would be an absolute no-brainer, easy decision for anybody, which is if you can pay off the IRS for 12% of the money, and then you convert. Now, remember the income said, we'll just go back and look at it, said 60,000. All right. We're changing that to 106,000. So we're taking about $46,000 and saying, I want to convert it to Roth IRA. And here's my taxes that are due. Well, where do I get those taxes? How do I pay that? It could be that how we pay that is because we had to take money out for RMDs anyway. You certainly could pay it from home equity from your home. You could pay it from reverse mortgage proceeds. You could pay it from non-qualified assets, money sitting in the bank, money sitting in mutual funds that's not an IRA. You could pay it from your income. You could pay it from inside the IRA itself. It's not very efficient. That's not the point. The point is we can call the company each year and say, I would like to take 46,000 of this $250,000 annuity, or maybe it's more accurate to come over here. Say, I'd like to take 46,000 of this account balance and convert it to Roth. And when they snap their fingers or have you sign a piece of paper or whatever they do, next April, you have 46,000 more of taxable income on your tax return, and you're going to owe this tax, and we need to find the best place to pay it from. Over time, what can happen is all of a sudden, 5, 7, 10 years later, this entire $250,000 IRA, which let's say it grew to this number, is now a Roth IRA, and and when you leave it to your loved ones, they will not have the tax problem we're trying to avoid. So we solve the tax problem with Roth conversions. Whatever amount you convert each year is added to your regular income from Social Security or IRA distributions or 401ks or pensions or rental income, whatever your income is, taxable income. We're adding income. You're not really getting it in your hands. It's just you tell them, take my IRA, make 46,000 Roth, and they send a letter to the IRS and they call it income so that you'll pay taxes to convert it to Roth. We can teach you more about that, but hopefully the little introduction is enough for now. We will help you know how much to do each year, probably in December, and how to pay for it. But it does not solve the problem of how do I make this bigger? We solved the tax problem. I have another problem, which is I got logged out. So let me turn off my screen real quick. Okay, I'm back. I got logged back in. And this would be an example that says, you know what? If this annuity, this place that I'm putting the money, instead of converting to Roth IRA, or maybe in addition to that, we can do both, but instead of converting to Roth IRA, what if I just take out a much higher amount? I take $20,000 a year for as long as I can, which in this case would be forever. Take out $20,000 a year for as long as I can and purchase a life insurance policy. Now, you might be saying, but wait, I got to pay taxes on that. That's income. That's fine. We could cut this $20,000 down to $16,000 and actually probably purchase the same death benefit the way that we design our life insurance. There's no problem. We can adjust any piece of this plan. I want you to get the concepts, which is if you take an IRA you don't need for income, put it into an annuity that will give you income forever that you don't need. What's happening with that income is now we're purchasing death benefit that you don't need, but that you might want. Why would you want it? If you love your kids, if you love your heirs, if you love some charities, you can leave more money behind. This is an increasing death benefit right here. So it starts low, goes high, 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 high. So in the beginning, you put $250,000 into an IRA, took out $20,000. Actually, we'll just look at it. Took out $20,000. It's worth an estimated $225,000. And we also have $200,000 here. If you passed away, your family would actually get almost twice as much money. $211,000 tax-free and $225,000 taxable. You didn't live long enough to solve the whole tax problem, but we left a lot more money to the loved ones. That's awesome. If you live a while, let's go out here maybe to life expectancy. I don't know what it is for a 72-year-old. We could look it up, but I won't do it here. Let's say it's 90 or 95. You have $526,000 completely tax-free. By the way, we are forced to show very conservative numbers. If this were to grow as if it grew as the way that it did in the last 10 years, this number would be huge, but we're not allowed to show that. We have to show conservative growth. So this would be, even at conservative growth, $500,000. At 95, it might be $650,000. Okay. Have I exhausted the annuity? I don't know. Let's come out here to age 90, which is right here. We still have 160 over here. Wow. How about 95? We can look at 94, ending in 95. We still have $127,000. So we may not get the tax problem solved, especially if your annuity does well, or we could just keep taking more money out. That's fine too. Exhaust the thing, no problem. The point is, if you use the annuity, turn it into a safe income stream, by death benefit, what's happening? If you die quickly, you leave more money. Some of it's taxable, some of it's not. If you live a long time, most of it, if not all of it, will be taxable, and it'll be a lot bigger than the investment you made in the beginning. So 100% tax-free. It can't go backwards, and it's going to be bigger than it would have been before. What if you just left it in the stock market? We have no idea what the size is going to be. Might go down, might go up, might stay the same. We know the tax problem your heirs are going to have. They have to pay it over 10 years. If we put it into life insurance, and these numbers are ultra conservative, maybe we do leave behind $700,000, $800,000, $900,000. We don't know, but the historical performance has been phenomenal. Now, I made a promise, so let me go ahead and fulfill that promise. I'm showing an annuity illustration where the money actually goes down. Actually, let me use a different piece of it, which is a guaranteed portion, which pretends like you don't make any money. The market never makes money for the rest of our lives. Very unrealistic. Markets bounce up and down all over the place, like we've seen. But let's just pretend the market never went up again. So you put in $250,000, you took out $20,000. That should be $230,000 left. We only have $225,000. Why is that? Real quick, you can buy the same annuities with no fees, but there's a fee that I love. I've been waiting for the market to do this. We now have this. There's a fee, an optional fee that doesn't go to the advisor, whoever helps you to purchase this. It does not go to them. It doesn't go to the company where they go and spend it and goes in their pocket. This is you, and we can teach you this, saying, I want to make more of the market when it goes up. So right here, I said, when the market goes up in index products, you get some of it, but not all of it. Today's annuities, if you say, you know what, you can charge me a fee each year. When the market goes down, I'm okay not making zero. I can lose 1.75%, even over 5 years in a row of losing money. I'm not down 10%. Why? So you can make 195% of what the market does. If the market has a 10% year, you make 19.5%. So I'm going to wrap it up. I hope that's helpful. If you have money in your life that's in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, or any type of IRA account, and you're saying, I do not need this I don't need it for income while I'm alive. But what I would really like is a death benefit if I pass away. Or just like I mentioned, if you need it while you're alive for long-term care or to take a trip or handle an emergency, this column is how much you have access to at all times. While you're alive, you can use this money like a line of credit. Over here, if you pass away, your family gets this 100% tax-free. I hope that was helpful. Charlie Jewett here from the Renovating Retirement Podcast. And I really hope this helps you understand IRAs that you don't need for income.